team, which is a phenomenal thing here. I was very excited to see that Belleville, we had a lot of these programs still intact when a lot of other districts had to release some of these programs. But just to talk about, there are some seats in here if you guys want to sneak in. If not, when I start asking questions, I'll start pointing over here. Only park arithmetic questions, don't worry. This evening, we started out by the flyer that was sent around to the schools and out to the mayor and council, and that you may have seen on the Belleville channel, was created by our printing classes. So they did that for us. We have the refreshments tonight from the culinary arts class, and now our broad class classes are doing the taping, and that's just part of my philosophy of getting the kids involved as much as possible in the schools to make sure that we are successful here. So tonight is more about the community and more about you all having the opportunity to ask me questions, maybe questions that you haven't had answered in the past. So that's what Meet the Superintendent is about. It's a very informal evening per se with the questions and answers. However, I will say that we do have a few ground rules, which basically are personnel issues. If you're here to talk about a specific person, I would ask that after the meeting tonight you come and make an appointment with me to talk about that. We will not talk about anyone specifically here. We can talk in generalizations, but nothing specific, okay? I think it's fair to lay that down as a ground rule here this evening. So again, I want to welcome you tonight. Thank you so much for coming. We are being taped as well, so if you do have any questions, please know that. A little bit about me for those of you who maybe haven't seen or read. Hold on one second. This is my 19th or 20th year in administration. I've held almost every administrative position from assistant athletic director to director to assistant superintendent for curriculum instruction. I've been a building principal, believe it or not, in an elementary school for about a week. And then I was moved to a middle school. I've been a high school principal. And I was formerly superintendent of schools in the Elma Park Public School District before coming here, which is a school in Bergen County. So I'm very happy to come here before the time when most superintendents start, which is July 1st. The decision that we made, the board and I, and in talking to Elma Park, was that it was very important for me to come here now to try to understand some of the things that Belleville was going through, so we can make a decision moving forward. So when July 1st came, we could hit the ground running. So to start, if you haven't seen it yet, I ask you all to check out our website under Superintendent's Office. There's a scrolling bar on the top, and you click on it, and on there it has my 90-day entry plan. And basically that takes us out through May, and it talks about all the things that I will be doing over the past 90 days to see how we can improve here, some of the things that we are missing, some of the things we can make sure, so we can make sure that our students are successful and our community is successful moving forward. So please take a look at that. And if you have any questions about that at all, you can give me a call, make an appointment, send us an email. I really want to make sure that you're aware that I'm a very good communicator. I get back to people immediately. I think that's what you need in the superintendent, so it's very important. What's going to happen tonight is I just want to go over a few things. I don't want to bore you up here with lecturing because no one likes to lecture. And then open it up to the floor for questions. I'm sure we have some teachers here. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I know that a lot of you are very busy and you have your own lives away from the school district. Any question you have is an important question. It's something I'll take into consideration. If you have a comment, you can make a comment. I would just ask that if it's something about the past, let us remember that we are here to move forward, okay? I'm not saying that we can't talk about the past a little bit, and maybe you have a question on how to rectify or do something differently. However, I really don't want to harp on the past too much because I know we've had some difficulties here. And then moving forward, we'd like to answer those questions. So we'll definitely open it up. We have some of our chefs here tonight. They come out. Come on out. Show us the uniform here. Thank you so much. Belleville's a great place. I've only been here for a few weeks, and I have to say, you know, one of the things that we deal with in communities, especially with school districts, is perception. Okay, we always have, someone has a rumor going on out there, or something's perceived. Okay, and unfortunately, I think you know that the perception of Belleville for the past few years or so has been a little dire straits, especially with the school system. I came in here knowing that most of the time the perception is wrong. Coming from a place that was in deficit when I began superintendency there in Elmwood Park, I know how those perceptions are, how those things are perceived, especially being a chief school administrator, not having anything to do with the past deficit, but you walk into it and everybody thinks that you were the cause of the deficit. So I'm very aware of a lot of what you all have had to put up with for the past few years. And one of my goals with the board is to change that perception. It's very important. It's very important for the school system. It's very important for the teachers and our students, but most of all, it's very important for Belleville. So that's what we're working on. The first week of schools, I visited every school. We had some emergencies here and there already that I had to go in and out of. But there are great things happening here. The teachers were all very receptive to me coming to the building. The kids were all really engaged in learning. We were doing a lot of excellent assignments. Up at the high school, again, I was talking about some of these programs that still exist here today, especially some of the broadcast media, your sports programs that you still have. The kids are just really great to talk to. And even in the high school, a lot of the students were saying hi to me as I was traveling the hallways, which is very rare for teenagers today. So it's true. I was very excited to see that. But I'm also not naive to think that there are some skeptics out there in the faculty rooms, in the classrooms, in the houses. But from what I've seen thus far, the perception is wrong. And if you are in it for education, you're in it for the kids. And we have great kids here in Belleville. What we need to do is we need to tighten up some of our systems so that these students can utilize what we already have here or we're going to be bringing in so that they can be successful 21st century learners. Moving on to colleges, maybe into some professions. College isn't for everybody today, but learning is for everyone. You don't have to stop learning. All right, so it's very important that we understand that. Excuse me. So I have 6 points that I want to make, and then we'll open it up to everyone here. So start thinking of your questions as I go through these. I think the main thing that we all want to understand that's very important is financial stability. Okay, we have to put the house back in order financially. All right, those of you who were at the last meeting, okay, you may have seen a late resolution that came through. Waiting for the state. The state was waiting, I guess, for me to be appointed or someone to be appointed until we put together an action plan, asking them for a loan to help out with the deficit. You know, I think that we could talk about what led to the deficit. I think there's a lot of things that you all probably know that contributed to that. However, one of the things that we have to realize, and this is all state figures, so I'm not saying anything that's confidential, is that as a school system, Belleville is $18 million underfunded, okay? That's under adequacy. So the state puts together this formula and says, you know what? In order to do everything we want you to do, you need an extra $18 million. So right away, we're behind the 8 ball a little bit. Okay, so what do we do about that? Well, we're not raising taxes $18 million. That's definitely not happening. Okay? So it's very simple. We could sit here, we could complain about it, or we can move forward and do what I say, we'll do more with less. Okay? Tighten the belt, all those things, do more with less. Okay? So that's where we're moving forward with that. This loan will stabilize what has occurred in the past. We'll use parts of our state aid, which is already given to us from the state, to pay off that loan. So basically, will put us right back on track. I'm expecting that loan hopefully any day now. Waiting for the monitor to just kind of cut through some red tape for us. And then this budget, I think you'll be very happy with this budget. I think you'll see a lot of what Belleville has lacked for the past few years. You'll see that coming into the budget, working with the board on some important things, talking to some of the teachers, talking to other constituent groups around town. Obviously, the first thing that we're doing is we're putting new textbooks. We're going to put those into the classrooms. Technology, those are our top priorities. Okay? Now, as we all shake our heads how great this is, I said it to a teacher the other day, be careful what you wish for. Okay? Because I'm the train moving fast, so you're either going to jump on or you're going to get run over. Okay? So as you get this technology in your room and all these programs, we have to use it. Right? And we're going to make sure we're using it. So get ready for professional development. Okay, get ready for maybe some late afternoons where you're getting a little frustrated. All right, but again, don't forget why we're here for the kids. So all those things that we've been asking for years, the board has made lists. Trust me, these board members have lists. Okay, and now that we're back on track, these are the things that you're going to be seeing. So, new textbook series, technology, things to make us more successful. Information systems now, through K through 12, report cards in all grades, online. Okay, we can see grade reporting instantaneously like we do in the middle school and high school. You'll see that K through 12 hopefully next year. Okay, if you have a special education student, different IEP components, different things that we need here. And this is why I'm glad I came early, because right now we're working to get those for July 1st. Okay, so that all comes with the financial stability, making sure we have the right personnel in place, things of that nature. 2, professional development. With all these things that we're talking about tonight, all these things that Belleville needs or we need for our kids, we can't just put our teachers in front of a classroom without teaching them as well. Okay, so I don't mean professional development where a teacher is going to show up for an hour and be bored to death, because it happens very often. Okay. This is going to be professional development that is directly related to the new initiatives that we'll be starting here, including like a new textbook series and some online planning where now lesson plans will be online and different things of that nature. Okay? So again, that's coming up. So please, this is the time to make a decision if you want to be part of this new Belleville or not. Number 3 is the consistency among all of the elementary schools. Okay? School number 20 and school number 30 should both have the same books, the same technology, the same amount of everything. Okay? We know that there's inequality now, and that's fine. It's my job to make sure that we're equal. Okay? So when you see these textbooks rolled out, it's not going to be one school gets it and another school doesn't. It's going to be across the board. So that a student living on one side of Belleville and a student living on another side of Belleville have the same books, the same resources, and more importantly, the same opportunity. Okay? That's going to happen. You're also going to see our classes in the elementary schools being departmentalized, which half of them are now and half of them aren't. Okay? In more of the upper levels, 3, 4, and 5. So what that means is that for articulation purposes, okay, articulation meaning that when teachers talk to each other and talk about what they're doing in classes, instead of 20 teachers teaching math, we'll take our 5 or 6 math specialists in the building and they'll teach the entire building math. Okay, some buildings are doing it successfully already, some buildings are not. Okay, so we're going to be working on that all summer with our team as well. Number 4, I didn't want to put this number 1 on purpose, so there's no ranking order, but this is the 4th thing. We're going to tighten up the discipline here, okay, in the entire district. I think the teachers' administration, they're doing an excellent job. I've read almost all the Evers reports, the referrals, the bullying reports. I think that we can obviously get better, and we will, with professional development, with some things that I will be initiating next year regarding discipline. If there are any students in here now, get ready for a crackdown on the dress code, because that dress code is going to tighten up a little bit in the next few weeks. All right? I already talked to Mr. Pagano about that. Okay? There's a reason why we have a dress code. And I think one of the problems is that we don't explain it to the students why we have a dress code. Okay? You could say there's a million different reasons, and people always say, oh, gangs and this and that. And I say, now forget all that. You know, just like I have to wear a certain outfit to work every day, this is your job now, right? This is you being prepared for work. Okay, so you have to look a certain way. You have to be at school on time, because we're preparing you for your future every day. Okay, so that's why you wear that proudly, that logo every day, and we're gonna look very presentable when we're out on the street, walking home and walking to school, coming forward. So that's one of the things we're going to do here. Tighten up the discipline, starting with the dress code. Number 5, we talked about it. We talked about technology. Technology is a major investment that the board is making. We are very behind on technology. I think some of us know that. No fault of anyone here. Just moving forward now. There's different ways of doing it. I'm a big proponent of basically what we call personal learning experiences, PLEs, not professional, not the teachers' PLCs, but professional learning experiences, and that's big with technology. What that really is that it puts the onus on the student for making sure that they don't just stop, they continue to be challenged. So we're going to have innovative technology here that's going to do that. It's going to challenge our students, even the apps and the programs that we choose as a faculty, K to 12. Okay, we're going to make sure that our students are aware that they need to continue to challenge themselves. And that first starts with something I put out to the teachers with Ms. Keller, who's here tonight. We put together some requests. Overwhelmingly, teachers have been blowing up her email already, to sit on committees for exit skills, okay, which is our first step in redesigning the curriculum here, okay? So in order to design a curriculum, those of you who know anything about curriculum, but you can't really write a curriculum until you get to the end first. It's sort of like a backwards process. So what we're going to do is, with our teachers here, we're going to sit down and we're going to come up with exit skills. So that means that we want every student, by the time they leave kindergarten, to count to at least 100. Okay, now you may say, well, that's tough for some kids. Well, that's the challenge, though. Okay, we want every junior, by the time they leave here, to know some trigonometry. Okay, these are challenges. All right, so we're setting up exit skills for every grade level, every curriculum we have, and then we're going to work backwards and write the curriculum. So you're going to see that, and that'll all be public to you as we do it on the website. We're obviously revamping the website as well to handle some of these things that comes along with new technology. So please visit that regularly. And then finally, I shouldn't say finally, but for now, from what I've seen in the 3 weeks, we have the ability to bring back the industrial arts program, which we will. We're going to be creating the Belleville Academy of Engineering, Mathematics, and Medical Sciences for those students who are ready to enter that field and they know that they want to go into engineering, sort of like an elite academy. And we know that in order to pass CUSAC, we need these things. We need a stronger curriculum, we need better textbooks, and we need to, well, I know it's better, but we need textbooks, right?
Yeah, thank you.
And we need to lessen the restrictive environments that we have here. Okay, that's more of a special ed thing, but we need to make sure that students who are from Belleville can remain in Belleville and be successful in Belleville. That's what we want. Okay? So again, if you have a chance to read that 90-day entry plan, you'll see that that's only like a quarter of the plan. So moving forward, sorry, that's my phone. Moving forward, as the rest of that plan comes to fruition, there will be more on here, on this pad, that we'll have to tackle. Now, I don't know if I said it to the union when I first met the union president or not here, but I said, I have a tendency sometimes to go too fast. So somebody's got to come to my office and say, we're going too fast. Okay, and I understand that. That's just my excitement. Okay, it's my excitement for this renaissance, this refreshment here. Okay, so I think we can all do it. I would never put anything in front of the teachers or the kids that I wouldn't think my own kids would be successful at. Okay, so moving forward, this is where we are. This is where we're laying the groundwork. And I think you'll see that the board and the administration and the teachers are all on the same page in saying that our investment now has to be in the classrooms academically, and we need to move forward. So that's where I am right now. If anybody has any questions, thank you so much. I will open the floor to questions if you have questions. And if you just want to say from your seat, I will repeat the question so everybody hears it. Just raise your hand. Yes, ma'am.
It's more of an observation.
Okay.
You know, it sounds so great that we have you here now to solve the issue that I wasn't even aware, because I just have a 12-year-old son who's in middle school. So I'm very worried when he hits high school. So you're here all fresh with these all great ideas. It's going to be room for burning out. Or is there, you know,
For burning out? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm concerned about that, because I see your, you know, eagerness of getting all this
Right.
resolved and in place, and the teachers and
Right.
everybody working together. So I hope you get all the support.
Thank you. I think just to repeat the comment is that the concern is that I don't, me personally or everyone will burn out from all these new things that we're doing. I understand your concern for that, and I think it's something that, as the superintendent, I have to gauge how fast we're going, where we're going. I mean, obviously, we have plenty of time to do all these things. You know, ordering new books is something that my office does, so they get dropped off here. You know, we do that with a committee of teachers. The teachers pick the books. They convince me what book they want through the research that we do. I send it to the board. I convince the board, who represents the town, and we adopt a book, which hopefully you'll see this board meeting. So that's one excitement done. So I think as we sit here maybe in 5 minutes and talk about it, it seems like a lot, but over the next 4, 5, 6 months, with different factions of, you know, of teachers, like, you know, like the high school teachers aren't going to really be concentrating on the elementary issues. So I really think that, and I know the board's behind me on it as well, that we can accomplish this, and I think the teachers are behind it, because I think the teachers are ready to move forward. So, you know, let's try it. I mean, it can't hurt trying to do the right thing. And again, if we have to take a step back a little bit, then we'll do that and we'll regroup. But thank you for your concern. Appreciate that. Yes.
Dr. Sanko, my name is Erica Jonko. I'm a Belleville School alumni and a past PTA president.
Hello.
And I want to give you a warm welcome, because I think you are a breath of fresh air after listening to your 6 points.
Thank you.
I wish you the wisdom, the power, and the knowledge base to make our students prosper, because they are the future, and I thank you in advance.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you. Tom, I cut myself pretty bad on this. Do you have a bad day or something? Yes.
Hi. I introduced myself to you before. My name is Deanna Arena. I'm a teacher at the high school. And I think on behalf of all the teachers that are here, we are really, really happy to have you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I really like what I hear, and I really feel good about the fact that you're seems like you're very open to communication from everyone, from the people in the town and teachers.
Yes,
I think a lot of things that have happened in the past,
sorry.
it's okay.
First date. And we have first date too, thank you.
First day.
You can't make this stuff up, right? Only in Belleville, right?
You learn fast, sir.
Go ahead, I apologize.
It's okay. So, I think a lot of problems come from kind of gaps in communication. And I think
Yes.
a lot of times between, teachers and administration, there's a lot of stuff that just gets missed because teachers are, in one section, administrators are supposed to be overseeing everything.
Yes.
And when it comes to superintendent, it really hasn't seemed in recent years, that there's this open communication. Would you be open to doing something like they have principal's advisory, almost like a superintendent's advisory, whether it's quarterly or every month or so, where teachers in the district could come and kind of just talk to you about things that are going on in their schools from their point of view?
Yeah, so I plan on having one of these every other month. I think every month kind of gets, just a little too much.
Right.
So that would be one way. I don't know how much the union has mentioned to you, but we have, excuse me, we have a monthly, I guess I'm the first superintendent to do that, but have a monthly meeting with the executive board.
Yes, I have. I've heard
Okay,
that.
so
Great.
which is a concern, and I think you mentioned something that's very interesting, and I think it's, I think there are some administrators that feel it's a sign of weakness when they acquiesce with to the teachers sometimes. If but what I tell when I mentor administrators or even our administrators here, which I've told them already, is we're all human. Even the administrators make mistakes as well. So it's okay to admit that you made a mistake. There's nothing wrong with that. But also, the only way an administrator is successful is if you're successful in your classroom. So to try to stop you or not help you succeed is just an administrator taking 3 steps back. So we're trying to, I'm trying to make sure that the administrators know they have my support in acting that way as well. I know they have the board support in that. But there is a time as a boss or an administrator where you have to, you have to drop the hammer or however you want to say it. But I don't think it needs to happen all the time. One of the things I love doing as a superintendent is when it's a rough day, just sneaking down to an elementary school and reading to like a 2nd grade class. Because it's fun, it's innocent, it's just something that makes it real. So I think administrators here, I think they're doing a great job. But I think they can continue to be those real people and jump into your classes and get involved and and open up that dialogue a little bit. So this would be a venue that you can come, or again, as a teacher, obviously you want to go through your building principal first, and if that's an issue for you, you don't get the answer that you like, or you'd like to still consider something differently, you can either go to your union, or then you can come and see me. So, okay?
You can come read to the high school kids too.
I could read to the high school kids. I don't know.
Thank you.
I'll do some physics problems.
Since you mentioned teachers,
Yes,
I know, I was a teacher, I know a great many teachers.
yes,
The complaint I hear that there's no longer enough time for the teachers to teach.
right,
They're being bombarded with paperwork, forms to fill out,
yes.
lesson plans that are much too elaborate, in my opinion. And if you can, I realize the state has a lot to do with it, but if you can look at some of the things that are keeping the teachers from teaching and see if they can't be eliminated or reduced or whatever.
Yes, sir, I agree with you 100%. I think there's unfortunately a lot of mandates now from the state that teachers have to record certain things, but I think we are putting some components in place for next year already to streamline those. I mean, I think at first it may seem a little burdensome because nobody's used to it, but as you get used to it, it will streamline a lot of that. Like for example, now as you're doing your lesson plans, you got to find your Common Core numbers and you're writing them out, and you find, there are programs that have a drop-down list that, if you use the same ones over and over, they keep coming up. So that's just one little thing, but I mean, even streamlining your lesson plans makes it a lot easier to organize. Not every teacher is as organized as others, but I do agree with you, yes.
But if you can get an app or a program that's going to give you the Common Core numbers that you're going to be using regularly,
Okay.
then do you really have to list them? If you're not thinking of them, you've got a program that's telling you,
Right.
you're teaching X, Y, and Z, put down numbers 7, 9, and 11.
Right. No, I agree.
It's almost like,
Right.
it becomes a game
it's
that I
busy
know
work.
teachers in
Yes.
the past have played, because I was one of those teachers who could play
Yes.
that game. I could use the same objectives for most of my classes.
Right.
I taught computers, so things didn't change that much, so a lot of the things that were going on in the room, even though what I was teaching might have been different, the overview was the same.
Right.
So I could get around things that maybe an English teacher or a math teacher couldn't get around.
Right.
You also talked about textbooks and technology. I agree, they're things that we definitely need, but you're not new at this. You know how much money is involved in trying to buy one set of textbooks.
Absolutely.
If we're talking about textbooks across the board in every subject, that sounds good,
Absolutely.
but where does that money come from? And the same thing with the computers. We have computers in the system that are still using floppy disks.
Right.
So
I
we're
know.
talking about computers that are 20 years old.
No, I know, I've seen those.
And if you start, again,
It's,
just to replace them, you're talking about a great deal of money.
Absolutely. All I can say is that I'll be doing a budget presentation, obviously, so we'll lay that out for you, how we're going to do this. You know, a lot of districts are in financial distress, okay? Not as bad as we are, or we were, but there are a lot of districts that are going into deficit this year, trust me, it's not only Belleville. So some of these companies have found ways to help with financing and whatnot, so we have to take advantage of some of those things. So we'll explore all that, and again, one of my things that I've always said in any district I've been in is, you know, we have to always keep in mind the tax levy. It's extremely important, especially when we used to bid on budgets or vote on budgets. But I always keep that in mind when we're purchasing things. And I think that if I can bring something to the town and give you a rationale why our students and teachers will have it, I think it makes a little more sense to you as a taxpayer. However, there'll be no more unscrupulous spending here or anything like that. Everything will go to the kids or to instruction. So just to backtrack a little bit on what you said about the lesson planning, one of the things we'll also be implementing is using higher order thinking skills within those objectives. So for example, we all know learner will demonstrate the ability, or student will understand, or whatever. LWDATT, right. So when you're doing a lesson plan, for those of you who aren't in the business, your lesson plan usually starts out and it says, learner will demonstrate the ability to, and then there's a word. That's the buzzword. That's the word I look at when I look at a lesson plan. If that word says define, like learners will be able to define words in a list, to me, that teacher is using lower order thinking skills in their students. Anybody can define something. You go over to a dictionary, you open up a dictionary, and you look at a word. That's not a higher order thinking skill. So what we're going to do is teach, we're going to professional develop and teach the teachers now how to utilize that buzzword with higher order thinking skills, like dissect, argue, things of that nature. So you can't really get away with just copy and pasting anymore. And once we get the systems where you can kind of correlate all the lesson plans together, I'd love to go in there once in a while and pick a few teachers to spotlight for the rest of the staff. So that's something that's also coming down the pipe. Yes, sir.
We'll get to be good friends over time. I have a lot here, and I don't want to take up all your time.
No, that's fine.
But you know, when you talk about freeing up time and energy and ability to teach, Park, Watchung Hills just came to us. I pray that that's going to be settled in Trenton, which is where it needs to be settled.
Right.
But I hope that our superintendent and every superintendent realizes that that's not helpful in New Jersey, and certainly not in Belleville right now.
Right.
The RFI technology, radio frequency. Now, I'm all with you about the kids need to come prepared, look right, but they also need, in this last year or two, there is this cloud of suspicion that they are guilty before innocent, and they feel it. And it's not conducive to a good educational environment.
Correct.
If we're going to expect a lot of them, we have to give them a little lead.
Absolutely.
And I, for one, don't give a damn how much money we spent on it. I want it disabled. And I think that a lot of people, I think, would agree with that. And I know from my own experience that the ACLU was interested in it as well. And I think a lot of eyes are watching where that ends up. We
Right.
understand the cameras. We pray that the audio is turned off only when absolute emergency necessity.
Right.
And want to believe, want to walk in faith on that. But I think that the RFI needs to go. You say more about doing more with less, and believe me, I'm a taxpayer and I get it. You know, and yet at the same time, we have to look back to the degree that we can understand where we're at, because Title I and Title II monies were supplanted. Money came in and went where they wanted it to go, not where it was supposed to go. So we're obviously now, and you seem to be doing an incredible job of analysis and determining the right process to move forward. But I think that the students all have to be re-registered, because politics opened up our school and enrollment was in 2012, 2013, had 3 different numbers. The state conceded that when trying to assess student population, it was virtually impossible.
Right.
So I think that we're struggling in so many ways, and maybe that might reduce some funding in some ways, but it also might reduce some of the challenges that require $18 million of underfunding, and reducing the size of classrooms, and that ties directly into the middle school cannot handle the 6th grade.
Right.
They have to go back to the grammar schools, and there's only one way to do that.
No, I know.
And, okay, now I'm telling you things, I like to hear.
I keep saying it.
Okay, all right, now
So-
just understand that we, as Belleville citizens, are facing a planning board that's considering 50-story buildings that we don't want. We want to return to a town, a functional town, that not that long ago was known for an incredible value for the income level. We're a CD district, we don't have the money. I appreciate that you're saying more with less, but obviously we got a lot of ground to make up. And
Absolutely. Well, I think, I'm sorry,
no, you go ahead.
I want to jump on what you said, because I think it's 2 things that you said. Everything you said was very important, but the 2 that I want to, I think you're talking about the radio frequency,
Yes.
the following people, these things here.
Yes, those things.
Okay. So that happened before I got here, obviously.
Okay.
So let's make that clear. Okay, so.
Yep.
Yeah. That's probably going to be once things kind of settle a little bit more, the board and I are probably going to have a very long talk on that situation. However, I will say that I've never seen this amount of cameras or anywhere, really. I spent a lot of time in West Side High School when it was the lowest performing school. And that really, you know, again, I think we could probably surmise why all that happened. So, but I will say this: if anybody is following people or watching, I don't know who it is, because it's not me, it's not the principals, it's not the board, it's not Mr. Egan. So I don't know where the camera is, but I will tell you that none of them are hooked up. And I'm assuring you this: the actual voice modules are not hooked up. And these proximity cards, from what I gathered, would only be able to track you on campus if they did. Now, if they're tracking people right now, if it's tracking me right now, I don't know who's watching me here, but I really don't. And so this has not become. To me, this has become like I can't believe the amount of money that we spent on it. So it's more than like a moving forward situation, because there's case law out there and whatnot too about, like you mentioned with the ACLU, where the board would have to pass a plethora of policies even to turn some of these things on. So we're not even close to there yet. So
So they're not on? The radio frequency's not on?
as far as I know, they're not.
Well, I appreciate that. I really don't want to
No.
think that that's what's going on.
So as far as I'm aware, I will double check that again tomorrow, and I will let everybody know if it is, but.
Thank you.
Secondly, you mentioned the re-registration, the board and I have already talked about that. I'm actually looking into some prices for like a software module that would connect to the Belleville Police Department's module. I've done a re-registration of an entire district before. It's not difficult. What's difficult is some of the parents just not getting you all the information, but it's just diligence. I think over the summer we can definitely do it. So it's something that the board and I are looking into. Whether it gets 10 kids out or 12 kids out, what it does for us is it tells everyone in town and the board as well, here, this is what we are, this is where we are.
Can I
So,
just follow
yeah,
on
sure.
that? Historically, back before our domicile investigators were fired in a cost reduction for a board that just blew out the budget sideways, they enjoyed a very good relationship with the town, building codes department, and board of health. And when overcrowding was an issue or suspicion of proper legal apartments, we have a CCO ordinance that allows for continued occupancy inspections. And there was a very good communicating effort that alleviated stress on everything.
Absolutely.
You know, the town is stressed enough.
No, I agree. And one of the things that we're building is our relationship with those members of the municipality.
Yes.
Also, I will strongly urge the board as we move forward and do some restructuring here. Careful how I say this stuff. Personnel-wise, I mean, I have an idea of some structuring issues. We definitely need a registrar, someone who's trained in looking at credentials before the students are allowed in. Once the students are allowed in, they're in. It's very hard to get a student out. So I'd rather keep a student out until we're definitely sure. So those are some things that are coming up. And I know it's a major concern here. I've heard it many times already with the students that aren't in town, you know, you border Newark and, you know, so I think maybe it does call for a re-registration now, so that'll be something that the board and I will discuss, and probably, I would say very quickly, a decision would have to be made in the next month or two. But again, we have to, I'm sorry?
I think the middle school would appreciate it.
Well, absolutely, yeah.
And
The middle school
busing.
situation with the sixth grade moving up is not really as easily undone as it was done.
I
So that's something that would have to look into a
Well,
little.
that's why I think re-registering would help, and also
Yes.
when you move the sixth graders to the middle school, you had to increase busing, so that's more contracts, more
Yes.
personnel. You know, it simply would reduce multiple things at the same time.
Yes. I'm looking at, the 90-day plan, all the systems are being analyzed, and especially courtesy busing. Yes, sir.
Welcome, Mr. Tonko.
Thank you, sir.
This is our third meeting.
Yes, sir.
See, I just have one comment and one question. You stated that, and Mr. Regan has stated that we're only going to move forward there. But as an educator, you must know the old adage, if we don't study history, we can't plan the future.
Absolutely.
Now, my children were in the Belleville school system, from the oldest to the youngest, from 1977 to 2002. In that time period, over 25 years, we had 3 superintendents. In the last 9 years, we had almost 10 superintendents, interim superintendents, acting superintendents, assistant superintendents. That's not good. Hasn't been good for the teachers, the students, or the taxpayers.
I agree.
That's the comment. One question. How long do you plan on being there?
I don't plan on going anywhere. I really don't. Again, you know,
Unless you win a lottery, right?
well, if I'm gonna, I'll still come to work one day. No, I've made a commitment here. I mean, I know you and I, you know, you've had some comments before about some of the other things that I do. Unfortunately, I am involved in a lot of different things. I also volunteer a lot for domestic violence with women. My wife and I are very, very big proponents of stopping that. So I know where I gauge myself, how much I can do and how much I can't do when I need a little extra sleep, that kind of thing. But I've dedicated myself here to Belleville. We've agreed on a 3-year contract right now. I would hope to, in a year, renegotiate with the board after they see what I can do here to hopefully stay even longer than that. Because my opinion is, in a place like Belleville, in order to get the community and the teachers and the students, and even like you said, that continuity, we need to lay out a 5-year plan where people know that this is in place, this is where we're headed, it's going to take a little time to progress. It's tough to do that in 3 years. So I'm willing to stay as long as the board wants me, so, in the community, so we'll see what happens. So hopefully we'll feel the same way about me in a few months. Yes, ma'am.
Welcome to Belleville.
Thank you.
And I wanted to know, do you plan on instituting the carpentry shop and the mechanics?
Well,
The auto shop?
the auto shop's a little more difficult than the industrial arts. I spoke to Mr. Pagano, as those of you who know Mr. Pagano used to teach industrial arts when he was a teacher here, one of the things he taught. And I wanted to make sure if we brought back that program to the district, that it was a higher level type of wood shop, not birdhouses and stuff. I'm talking about cabinets and desks and canoes and stuff like that. So that's what we're looking at now. We still have a lot of the tools. Our maintenance department makes our own furniture in the offices here, so they do a great job. So it seems like that's an easy and immediate almost fix. The auto shop, unfortunately, I think there's a few hydraulic issues and whatnot that maybe we sold off or somewhere else now. So to bring something back to the students that are more tangible with carpentry and something like that, we're going to do that hopefully immediately.
Okay, and to get the morale up in the district?
Oh, absolutely.
Between the students and
Yes,
and the
absolutely.
teachers? Thank you.
Well, Ms. Correnti did a survey for me and Mr. Pagano before we did this. Obviously, those of you who know me by now the last few weeks, I don't do anything without the stakeholder background so that I can bring it to the board and say, this isn't just me waking up, having breakfast and say, hey, let's put a program in. I think the response was overwhelming to the students that would really like to see this again. I think I go 75% or so from the numbers I saw. So again, we're not going to be able to fit it in for everybody, but for those seniors at least, or juniors that really want to work with their hands, and maybe they have fathers that are in the unions or whatever, it's time for us to give back and open that up again.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
But going along with that too, what it's done for my kids, I had 4 kids go through the high school, 3 boys went through the carpentry. And it wasn't just birdhouses, because I have tables, I have chairs,
Great, that's
I have
great.
things that they made. And one of the students, when one of mine first started, his brother was getting married in a couple of years, and he ended up making the whole bedroom set for his. So even if, and I can speak for my children, they didn't go into that, but they're not afraid. When something happens, they can measure, they can fix, they can do. And that builds confidence for them.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? To take with them so that they can take on something else. So I'm really glad. I mean, I don't have kids here anymore. I work here, but I'm very happy to see that, because I think a lot of the students who are not going to go on to college will benefit. And it may make them feel so good about themselves, everything else will improve too. So.
Right. Yeah, and along with that, thank you for that comment, I appreciate that. Along with that, I forgot to mention one more thing too. We were discussing with the board when I had my interviews that not every student is for college, but again, you can continue to learn, whether it's a trade or go on to get an associate's degree. However, we are looking to bring back the cooperative business education program too as well, where students come here for half a day and they learn their English and their math and whatnot, and they go out into the workforce and either work as technicians or even at the board office, for secretarial skills and things of that nature. So we're looking into that as well.
Hi, how are you? I'm a Belleville taxpayer, but my children aren't actually in Belleville schools.
Okay.
I have them in private schools, only because I work for the New York Department of Education.
Okay.
And morning drop-off is 7:30, so that's an issue. Is there any way, has there ever been a concern to start the morning care at 7? Is it a possibility to change that at all?
I don't know, but I will look into that, and if you, at the end of the night, if you just give me your name, I'll get back to you tomorrow. Okay. Yes? Hi.
Good evening, Dr. Thompson.
Good evening.
You have the opportunity, but it's also perfectly fine to appoint someone to the library board. You sit on the library board, and I was wondering if you had any thoughts as to who in the district would represent the district well in the function of being a representative on the board.
Yes. With the restructuring of the departments and whatnot, as I speak to the board about personnel issues, my opinion would be that the person I work closely with in curriculum, the curriculum area, whoever that would be my alternate. Because the way I see the relationship with the library board is mostly academic, and I want to try to foster that relationship where the books and the independent reading abilities of our students, when they use the library, directly relate to what we're doing in our curriculum mission. So I think there's no other better person than me, than the person that's working with me daily on curriculum there. So that's who I would probably suggest as an alternate.
And we are desperately, obviously, we all know that, in need of textbooks. But when you mention curriculum, the establishment and review of the curriculum is then what should drive the book. The book should not drive the definition of program or curriculum, except when we're dealing with those core curriculum standards that we all know are the magic numbers that we have to.
Correct.
And so that the process has always been that someone is selected to either write the guide or revise the guide. And I would like to respectfully suggest that in instructional levels in general, that there be a greater opportunity for direct input, more staff on those levels in the development of curriculum. Because I think sometimes it looks good on paper, but the implementation is something that's either awkward, and you're right on the money when you got to discuss higher levels of learning. But higher levels of learning also require support,
Absolutely.
in-service, professional development support for our teachers, because it's not just the word, it's the skill of the question, it's the engaging of the students, which brings us to the other thing, which obviously preceded you, but the paraprofessionals here in the district who are we might call them classroom assistants. A number of them are concerned about the timeline for completing certain in-service coursework that would be counted as credits, or having had the opportunity to take. And I will say that I was not aware, even when I was on the board, that our paras were never informed of the fact that there was a timeline that anything had to be completed. So that raises a major issue, because we know we have a number of paras in the district that have been here for a number of years and have the reputation of being dedicated and patient and working with the children, but now are really concerned about what is going to happen to those positions.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I'll speak to that, and I'll just address it because it's not really confidential, but I sent on the 15th, I sent all the paraprofessionals in the district, all the aides, teachers' aides, classroom aides, one-on-one aides, a letter stating that they were required to meet specific requirements in order to be reemployed here next year by the Board of Education. This isn't something that I made up. This is directly related to NCLB, actually, mostly Title I schools and whatnot. We have 5 Title I schools here, and I think 3 or 4, maybe 5 targeted assistance areas that we're using Title I monies for. So that means that any aide specifically in those areas has to either have, a one-to-one aide has to pass what they call the parapraxis, which is an exam, or have 60 college credits. and a classroom aide has to have 60 college credits. So if you are a classroom aide, you have to have basically an associate's or 60 credits. But if you're a one-to-one aide and you're working in those capacities, you can just pass a test instead of going for those credits. That was apparently protocol several years ago. I did go back a few years. It was then suspended by the board, I think 4 or 5 years ago, which surprised me. And then knowing that my duty as superintendent is to protect the Board of Education, this is an area where the entire town could lose funding, so we don't want that to happen. So I gave the paraprofessionals time now to take that test. Mr. Klein is working very hard to try to get that test as a test site here, so they don't even have to go out of town. We're working very hard to try to accommodate that. And those aides that have made it, or paraprofessionals
Prepare to land.
that, yeah, it's like landing here. I'm sorry. That's normal, right?
Some sort of.
Is it really? Okay.
Just started the wood shop already.
Shawshank.
We do have refreshments left, so. So again, this is a very important topic, so I just have to get back to it for a second. Some of the aides, paraprofessionals have approached us on this. Anyone who's in the process of taking the test, process of trying to get those credits, we will definitely give consideration to. Again, I don't want to make that a blanket statement for those people that just don't want to take the test. If you take the test, you're going to take the test in the summer and you want to get the results back. I mean, we're going to move forward, and I will explain to the county superintendent that this is an aide who has been dedicated here for years, who has not had any poor evaluations or write-ups or whatnot, has had a good attendance record, and we're waiting for the results. Or if an aide comes to me and makes a request that he or she has 35 credits and would like to go back for the next 2 years, I would definitely, with the board's approval, approve that as well. I mean, we're not looking here to get rid of the aides, we're looking here to protect the board and protect the community. So, again, you can Google this law and find it. There are a lot of towns that don't do that, usually the bigger cities, because then they can't find paraprofessionals. But I'm confident that the number of paras that I've found here who do not have that test will do well and pass that. And again, Mr. Klein just walked in the room, so we could all get him later, but he is working very hard to try to get that test here for all of you. So, yes. No, it's okay. You don't have to answer.
There's, as we all know in Belleville, things travel, rumors, and
Sure.
there's so many distortions. But here's another rumor going around about drugs and pills and within the high school and athletes. And I would just hope that it can happen in any school, in any community.
Absolutely.
Whether it's affluent or whether it's a community where there might be some financial struggles. But it sounds like it's old hat to talk about substance abuse prevention and vigilance by the district. But I just need to stress as a resident that we can't do enough about that.
No, I agree.
Our students
Yep.
and their well-being.
No, I completely agree. I can say this, and I wouldn't say anything, I guess, if I couldn't say it. So, I'm not naive to say that there's nothing happening in Belleville drug-wise. I think in any community, that's obvious. However, since I've been here, nothing has crossed my desk with any incident of any student of ours. So, I can report that. That's good. So, but again, not naive to say that we may not have a situation here. I did talk to a few of our SROs, talking about instilling some of those programs that we lost, the DARE programs and stuff that were so wonderful back in the day. All the community policing units have gone to different things now, but I'd like to get those back into the grammar schools. That's where it starts, as we know. So hopefully we'll revitalize some of those programs. Use the county. There's a lot of free services from the county. They're willing to come in here and do, any type of workshop or talk to the students. But again, the problem now with park and assessments is when do you, even though those things are important too, when do you teach? So again, we gotta try to schedule that around some of these things, but we are looking into all that. There's plenty of free stuff out there. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hey, I'm Mike Diaz, town resident, also Belleville graduate, and also now an educator, school number 4. And I'm very confident with what you said about having, discussion and dialogue with the teachers. So what I want to ask about is buildings and grounds.
Okay.
It seems that we go to our board meetings and we don't hear anything that's going on with what's actually happening on our buildings and grounds, and build the safety of the buildings.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I could go on with about what our building looks like at school 4, and I'm sure you probably went up to the 3rd floor.
Already been there, yeah.
Okay, so, and I just think that a little open communication on that side, that was never presented at the board meetings with, with anybody there telling us what's going on and how we're going to move forward. I drive up and down, the Belleville Stadium is, and I know that's probably one of the last things we need to work on because of money with everything else that we need to deal with. But I just want to know what your summary of the buildings and grounds.
Again, it's interesting. I spoke right away, one of the first words I said was perception. People have that, so when you pass a building where the facade of the building has,
School 7.
School 7, where the facade has, the overhangs and the scaffolding, that's not the perception we want for Belleville. So when I started driving around here, when I first was hired, before I came here, those were some of the things that I took notice of. So we've already spoken to architects about those areas. We have rejuvenated, I guess is the word, our board committees. We are actually meeting tomorrow night. Next week we have a few meetings, and there's a Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting coming up. So I'm going to expect at the next board meeting, which right now is on the 13th of April, that you will get a report from that chairperson. If not, I will definitely get a report on the things that I've had the architect look at, including your school on the 3rd floor, because the rumor of it's condemned, it's like the big rumor. So looking at all those areas that again are perceived, how do we have kids in a building where the 3rd floor is condemned? So right away I'm like, I don't think that's condemned, but that's the rumor. So we want to squash all that. We want to take care of the facade of School 7 so that you don't drive through like it's the city. Those things are expensive. We have a couple boilers that are, it's no surprise. We have 2 boilers that are bad. So there are some decisions that the board's going to have to make moving forward to make some big capital improvements here. Some of the boilers haven't been changed in forever. So, the facade issue of School 7, that's a little expensive. School 4 also has that wall that's kind of,
And all our windows.
The windows, right, there's a lot of issues. Right, so again, I don't know who owns a house here that's more than 6 years old and hasn't done any upgrades to it, so, unfortunately, some of that stuff's coming around the pike here, so, but the Buildings and Grounds Committee, I don't want to step on their feet, so the next meeting you should hear something. But thank you for that concern, that's a good concern. Yes?
Just to go back to textbooks.
Sure.
Where exactly are we going with the textbooks? Elementary, middle school, high school? Are we starting with the elementary? Or are we
Right.
starting with, who
Right.
exactly is getting?
That's a good question. Well, believe it or not, I think an assessment was done before I got here. But I did my own assessment when I got here. So we need books across the entire district. Obviously, it's not going to happen overnight. The district does not have a 5-year every district by law is supposed to have a 5-year cycle. So that once you have money in your budget for books, the next year you take that money and buy different books. So every class is taken care of within 5 years. So every 5 years, things update. Now, sometimes you could take some stuff out if you have an emergency situation or whatnot, but you should have a 5-year schedule. The board will have that schedule by June moving forward. So as of right now, the most crucial area is, in my opinion, and what actually the committee came up with too, prior to me getting here, is K-5 math. So we are now looking at meeting with that committee again because they did a lot of work already. So we want to see what they have come up with, and hopefully everything matches. And this month I'll bring it to the board for an adoption, and hopefully roll that into the budget. So that's where we're at. But it's on its way, so you just gotta hang in there. Oh, hi, 1 second. The other thing too is, grants and getting help from local businesses and whatnot. All that I'm hoping to, especially your Italian. So I don't know if there's is there an Italian society in town? There has to be. I'm just saying, like a Scalati society.
Actually gave us some money from grant money. It's good, but
Right.
it's not.
Not enough. I get it, right? But so tap into different areas of that, like that. So.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I was just going to piggyback on what she said and the prior lady that was speaking in terms of curriculum. I'm a resident in town, Harry Comas, and are you going to be updating the curriculum first before buying the textbooks? Because it seems like the curriculum hasn't been updated in so long that would probably be a wise first step to revisit and really try to align the curriculum from for what moving forward is going to be park testing, whether it's park or something else
Right.
next year or another kind of test.
Yeah, nobody knows.
Everything's changed.
Right.
And it really needs to start from kindergarten up, because it's not something that you can start in 3rd grade, 4th grade and shove down with children's
Right.
throats.
Correct.
It has to start and be a natural progression.
Right. So when you talk to people that have written curriculum for a very long time, there's people have their different philosophies on it, but there is one way of doing that, and then you get a book. And the difference now, though, one of the things now is that you're following the Common Core. So what some people don't understand about the Common Core is that there are specific tenets of the Common Core that everyone has to have in their curriculum. And then as people write curriculum, they take those tenets and they make them specific to Belleville. So for example, the Common Core says that you now have to teach historical texts. Okay? English teachers forever never taught historical texts. They don't like them. They wanted to teach something else. Okay, they didn't want to talk about presidents or whatever. So that ties in with history. Okay? So now every town that has adopted the Common Core, all their English teachers have to use historical texts. Okay? That's what the Common Core says. So every teacher in every Common Core town for English now teaches historical texts. Now, we take that in Belleville and we decide which texts we're going to teach our students. That's where you tweak it now a little bit. That's where it becomes your own. So it's a little different. So all these companies have gotten very smart, obviously, because they want to sell their books. And they've done 3 things. The first thing they've done is they've aligned the entire book to the Common Core. Okay? And when you get to ELA, it's a little different because you have to pick things. But math is math. Okay? So they've aligned all the standards to the Common Core. The second thing they've done is they've aligned everything to computer-assisted technology, where a student or a parent can go home and log on and do the test right there at home. That's your homework test. The parents get involved, and everybody hugs each other, and they clap, and they get involved. Okay? It's true. It's phenomenal, because a lot of parents cannot handle the math and the ELA today. As you stand before me, if you haven't tried a park question, go home and try one. Because it's not the way. You'll get the answer, but you won't get the answer the right way we teach our kids today, because they use boxes and... like I have 4 children. My one son is in 4th grade, and the other day he was just subtracting something, and I was getting very frustrated because I said it's 20 minus 12. He goes, no, it's 20 to the 10th to the 5th, and I'm like rounding up. Because we're teaching our children how to think a different way because they have to. So all these books are aligned to all that. And the best thing that they do now, though, these companies, how bright they are, is that they sell you this package where they say, instead of you purchasing workbooks and textbooks, we just have one book, and it's a workbook / textbook, so that every year you just renew it. They've gotten very bright over the years, because we're running out of money. Not Belleville, everybody is. So again, what we're looking to do is, that's why those exit skills are so important, because we want to look at what the current curriculum Belleville has now. We want to challenge that curriculum by increasing the exit skills, and then hopefully the committee that's already done a lot of work in the past few years with the books for the K-5 comes up with some of the same ideas that I have, and we could kind of gel together. I think we're going to be close, because there's really only 1 or 2 books out there that I think are perfect for our community. So, and we already have a platform here to support a lot of it. So hopefully moving forward, that'll answer some of your questions.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Please, I have a question. I have a partner from the middle school. He was, we don't have an option for put another course my son, because last time we put in an optional course because he's good at maths. The teacher say, what are you doing here? You do the last semester. Since 6th grade went to the middle school, move over there. Everything is a middle, they don't have, for example, auto class anymore. What about the average and a high school?
Right.
What I think so you worry about so you can problem.
No, I think it's a great question.
What about
Sorry.
how do you explore that potential? How's the level of the Belleville school right now?
Right.
Everything is going to be for only that still are not doing good.
Right.
What about the good ones?
No, I understand. So I think what I'm hearing you say is the middle school does not have an honors program, in not so many words, basically. You're right, they don't. With No Child Left Behind, you're not really allowed to track students anymore. However, that's not the reality, but we don't call anything in high school. In high school, you can have an honors program, but in middle school, especially since our middle school's a rack school, there are no. Well, no. What it basically, the middle school's a focus school, okay? So it's considered a rack school, which is a regional achievement center. We have to put aside 30% of our Title I money to go towards SIP, which is called the School Improvement Plan. The School Improvement Plan is put together, and the reason why we're a focus school is because we have this major gap between the lowest performing students and the highest performing students. There's a big gap in the middle. So to put in an honors program would just increase the gap. So that goes against the state NCLB, actually it's not state, it's more federal, but NCLB title requirements. So what we need to do is to put in an additional math for those students that can handle it. So for example, if there's students taking Math 8, for example, we need students to take Algebra 1 that can handle Algebra 1. So that's the way, I think if I'm hearing you say correctly, we need to challenge your son more by giving him the ability to expand his math. So that's how you do that, and you'll see that next year. Unfortunately, this year we missed that. There is an algebra in 8th grade, so I'm hoping that those students that are considered the math elite will then fit right into our academy that we're putting in.
They say that they have something last year. We got two groups. They got give parents kids, but the school canceled that one. No anymore.
Right.
That's why I told you that we are considered that one too, because maybe I think many students have that one, an average of high school middle.
Okay.
They're repeating a lot. For example, my son is repeating now 2 times again sport. Or maths, another one they already did.
Right. Well, that's again part of the curriculum. That's why the exit skills are important. So once you hit those exit skills, you shouldn't go back over the exit skills. You should keep moving forward. That's why we're working hard to get that in place by July 1. Yes, ma'am.
Well, my question is continuing with this. Now, my son will be going into the middle school come September.
Okay.
Will these programs for advanced students be available to him come September?
We're doing the best we can, sure.
Because if not, I will have him move somewhere else, go to private school or something else.
I was under the assumption after our last conversation that these would be available come September.
Right. But again, I'm saying to you here that they'll be available come September. I'm not sure if you and I are thinking of the same thing though, because a sixth grader, sixth graders may take the same math, but maybe a little more at an accelerated pace, because that's a little different,
That's what I'm
yeah.
getting at, because there
Yeah.
are, you have the special needs students, you have the general classes, and then you have the kids who are a little bit advanced.
Mhm.
Where do they fit in? Do they have their own set of classes?
Well, again, the first thing we have to, that I'm looking at as well, which is also part of the 90-day plan, is what is considered advanced? Because if you have fifth grades from 5 or 6 different schools, just because a student's advanced in one school, so we're looking at possibly, like a sort of like an entrance exam to see where we can kind of put certain students in math, especially math, because I think a lot of parents feel that, don't understand when you get to the middle school, their student may be ranked number 2 at their school, but ranked 25 when they get to the middle school. So there's like everybody's coming together again. That's why the 6th, 7th, 8th grade model in the middle school really isn't a bad thing if it's done properly and there's time and there's room. Because the 6th grade is the time to really get the entire student body to gel together, because some of them don't even know each other yet. So some of them had teachers that loved math in 5th grade, some of them had teachers that didn't like math in 5th grade. So you see all these differences as they come into 6th grade now. So someone who had a teacher who maybe wasn't as strong or as, let's just put the word out there, tough as another teacher in a different building, may have done really well in building 50, but when they get to 6th grade now, they're totally behind. So it's not as easy as just putting people in a cohort like that. So 6th grade is very difficult. 8th grade and 7th grade, we know by that point because of what they've done in 6th grade or 7th grade. But the 6th grade is a little different.
Left behind,
Yeah, he
left
won't
there
be,
where
no.
he's just gonna skate through.
Oh, if your son excels in the middle school, he'll be in an accelerated route.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Rob Wilkinson, I'm a history teacher here, and I want to say thank you for bringing all the career and technical work study program. I really appreciate that bringing all that back. But one other thing for the students, they were asking that maybe for the dress code, you can make a revision and allow them, if they purchase shirts from a club or a team, that they could count that towards their uniform in school, and to give up hoodies, to swear off the hoodies.
Right.
Maybe teams can start to wear the crew neck sweatshirts.
Right.
And they could wear it in the bathroom.
Again, and all the students that'll be watching this, I'm sure, when it's on TV.
They'll have an opinion.
I'm very big into SGO, Student Government Organization, or Student Government here, and we have a student representative that sits on the dais with us at the board meetings, so I know it's important to the board as well. Anytime they want to voice their opinion or come up with some kind of change, that's how we teach them democracy and civics and whatnot. They would have to go through the proper channels with their moderator, of course, and then I would definitely bring that to the board. So those of you who are watching tonight, if you have any suggestions, bring it to us. But I mean, again, it's going to be, what's the best for the students in Belleville. I mean, the hoodies, for a few reasons, they're not acceptable in a school environment. But number one, we're not really allowed to search a hoodie, and you can conceal things in the hoodie. You can cover your head if there's a fight. There's a couple of different reasons. You can get choked by it, so that to me, that one's common sense. So if you're watching now, the hoodies are not coming back. But definitely, the student voice is extremely important. I mean, that's why we're here. Yes.
A lot of comments about the hoodie.
Okay.
Very popular.
Right.
One that I hear a lot, and when I started at the high school, it was just a question I had right off the bat. Why do they keep selling the hoodie if they're not allowed to wear the hoodie in school?
Yeah, I think it's really a popular piece of attire. I bet everybody has one in here. So it's popular, but again, it's so I'm even with teachers, or I'm always, let's try it, and until it doesn't work, that kind of thing. So not that I would do the hoodie thing, but anything else, if we did it once a week on Friday where we wear our Belleville stuff or whatever, we try it. If it doesn't work, then we don't do it anymore. That kind of thing. But I don't think it really stop anybody from selling those, it's pretty popular, but it would change things, but.
Along the same lines, maybe we can also sell them on the website, on Belleville Schools, because maybe there's some parents that would appreciate that, maybe they would like to support the team.
All right,
But if they're
there you
not in
go.
contact with high school kids, they don't get to see it. Even when I was teaching at the middle school, I would
Okay.
get a sports.
Which, you mean the website that we have?
Yeah, Belleville Schools or
Oh, okay.
Adapter or something, even if, because usually they have a link to.
Oh, a link to something
we
else.
would have, yeah,
Okay.
for our stuff.
I can definitely look into that.
And then, you know, maybe the elementary, we can have it, kids on Washington Avenue wearing sports team stuff.
Right.
Or the play this weekend.
Right, exactly.
That all.
Yes, the plays this weekend.
Hi, I'm also a teacher now.
Yes, ma'am.
As the year has gone by, this has been a difficult year with regard to discipline and students. And I was wondering, can you help bring in a dean of discipline so the overload on VPs isn't there? Because we have major problems with discipline, attendance, tardiness, and, you know, we write these children up and the VPs are doing the best they can, but the repercussions don't occur until a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks later. And so I see a need for a dean of discipline here to relieve some of that burden on vice principals. And I was wondering if that's a consideration.
Yeah, again, I'm already working on a restructuring plan that I'll bring to the board personnel committee, so we'll see how that goes. I'm not saying it's going to add a dean or anything like that, but I have an idea for how I see the buildings are being, not the buildings, this building, in the middle school, basically. The elementary schools are, you know, one, you know, but for here, yeah, so.
Problems are here, you
No,
know.
I know, it's a large building. It's a large building, it has a lot of students in it, so, I mean, there's, you know, if you want the academic progress to continue with all the evaluations and whatnot, that takes at least 1 or 2 administrators out automatically, so. And again, this is not a problem just here. You know, this is a problem all over. Because what happened was, as towns were looking to, or as the toolkit came in and 2% was the levy and, you know, you can go over 2%, the easiest place to cut to make everybody happy are administrators. So we cut administrators and we decreased evaluations in places. And then all of a sudden, here comes New Jersey Achieve now, where they, by 3 times, increased evaluations, and we didn't increase any administrators. Not just here, it's all over New Jersey. So you see some of the more affluent districts are hiring like 4 or 5 different new administrators now just to cover evaluations. And towns that, like Belleville, just, you know, it's not really easy to do that. But I do have some ideas, so hopefully moving forward we'll. Yes.
Just jumping off what a few of the parents were talking about from the middle school, I'm really glad that they brought up kind of talking about students that are being advanced and not being challenged, and tracks, and talking about honors as opposed to more of a general track. And I just wanted to tell you, I'm so happy that we've talked to you tonight, because I wanted to say this, you know, for a long time to someone who could possibly do something about it. At the high school, until a few years ago, we had different tracks of students. So we had a general track, an academic track, and an honors track. General was for, you know, more struggling. Academic was more college-bound, you know, pretty much on level, and then we had honors. What they did is they combined general and academic classes. And the theory was that the struggling students would rise up to the higher level. Again, some things look good on paper and sound great, but the reality of it is, and every person here from the high school will tell you, that has really destroyed a lot of classes. This has happened in history, math, and English. And English, I have 31 kids in my class. I have 1/3 of these kids who are struggling to even read, you know, they can barely read, some of them. They really are struggling. And then you have students on level, and it's a disservice to all of them. Because the kids that, you know, are at level, they're just sitting at board because you're trying to help the students that really are below. So I don't know if that's something, and I don't even know if it's something you do, but just to make you aware, I feel that that's
No, I appreciate you bringing that to my time.
really made it.
Yeah, I've actually am aware of that too.
Okay.
That's a longer commitment.
Yes, but just.
Yeah, but no, it's definitely there. No, you're absolutely right.
It really made it hard, it's kind of, you know.
It was a philosophy, you know, again, different philosophies. We talk about testing, all the different testing, so different philosophies keep
Right.
changing. And if you're in a classroom for 10, 15 years, you see all these different philosophies, and we're at a point now where we just want somebody to say, just teach,
Right.
So,
Yeah.
we just need the commissioner to say that, so.
Right.
And,
But I know that
and,
there's certain things the state imposes.
well, that's it, and
Right.
I think, I think some of the changes you'll be seeing statewide coming up will be different to help put more instruction back into the classrooms. And I also think that what you'll see in Belleville coming down the road will be to kind of help some of those students that are struggling, again, that's why I was talking about the personalized learning environments, you kind of go at your own pace, but not to stop those who would go further, because there's other students in your classes that can't go further, so those are some of the things that hopefully with some of the technology will help out a little bit.
Thank you.
Yes?
My son is currently in the middle school, and I know that they have about 20 minutes lunch.
Right.
And they have, basically 10-something lunch times and so
Right.
forth. And it's 15 minutes in the line, and then you eat for like 4 minutes,
Right.
and then you have to run because you're late to the next class.
Right.
And I know that when we go to work, we have our lunch, our hour lunch, and it's still not enough time sometimes, because
Right.
when you go pick up something, it just kills the time. I think, the happy endorphins are needed.
Right.
So if that's the only time they have to relax to themselves without rushing, because in the halls, they bump into each other. I went there just for a meeting, and the bell rang, and I was walking to the office, and this is me,
Yep.
in the hallway.
Middle school is a very difficult place to be. Any town.
And I think that it's a health issue, one, and two, it's not creating a positive atmosphere for them either, so.
Well,
I'm not
it's
sure what
I
the
totally agree
reality
to
is
you.
on the time,
Right.
because I know for our other classes, we have other times, I don't know. So I really would like to see input on that.
No, I agree. It's unfortunately sometimes you can't fit everything in, so that's why they're the way they are. But it's interesting. There was a lot of research done when a lot of the schools cut back, because if you think about how long it really takes your kids to eat at your dinner table, it's 20 minutes or less. That's what the research said. That's why it's in there. Because students, they get up and they don't, like we may have a conversation at their table, but kids at that age don't, they usually if you give them 20 minutes to eat, that's it. What people don't understand is the downtime, as they go into see their friends, and they're young and they have to wait in line and all that other stuff, So sometimes educational research, reality happens, Sometimes educational research, I worked for a principal once who the kids were arguing in high school that there wasn't enough passing time in the hallways. He said, what are you talking about? And they're like, you're only giving us 2 minutes, we can't get to our classes. And he goes, well, we'll take care of that. So after school one day, he brought me out into the thing, he goes, time me. And he went to one side of the building, and he walked to the other side, he goes, see, minute 50 something. I'm like, there's nobody in the hallway. But sometimes, we forget about all the ancillary things, the 500 kids that are eating at the same time, my friend, or they run out of French fries for 5 minutes because they have to make more or something like that. And those things happen. So that's a systematic change that everybody's looking into nutritionally, so in the state. So hopefully, bring back recess a little bit, that kind of thing. So but I do hear you.
They come home hungry.
No, I know.
Really hungry.
I was just going to add to what she had said, because my own son, it also depends, he's in the middle school, and it depends on where his locker was. And if he wasn't there on time, I don't know, let's say for instance, there's, let's say 80 kids in lunch, for example. He was number 79, that was it, everybody was through there, he missed,
Right.
and that was the end of it, and my poor kid comes home. Now, I think, what is it, they have a couple of lunches now, it's not just 2, I think it's like, 3 or 4 lunches, or 5 lunches or something. So sometimes my kid, depending on what semester he's in, he may have lunch, the last lunch. And then he gets less than 2 seconds, literally, after he goes to get his little French fry maybe, or if he has enough time.
Right.
And now my kid has gone home starving, and of course you're not gonna have a normal child, or somebody that's gonna.
Right, no, it's everywhere. It's not just Belleville, unfortunately. Yes,
Dr. Thompson,
Yes.
I'm not sure whether perhaps it was resolved, and some of us aren't aware of it, but there was a concern at the end of last year, beginning this year, about nursing coverage
yes.
in town schools. And if you haven't had a chance, please, we request that you consider looking at the staffing of the nursing coverage.
Yes. I actually think I have a meeting on that tomorrow at 11 o'clock.
When there's an accident,
Right.
when there's an accident, and
Yes.
there needs to be coverage, it's an issue, especially since some kids are on medication schedules, and if emergency should occur, that building isn't covered, and the nurse has to come and come to another building. The other question I have, certainly don't want, not asking it to be addressed tonight, but it's been a number of months now since this has been the senior lounge. I think a lot of us would love to see what the library looks like.
okay.
I'd like to see for our high school students, our library and information center, I'd like to see, since it's not here anymore, whenever there was a meeting, we had the opportunity to be in the room. I think there might be some people
Okay.
that might want to take a look at it.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry, I wasn't aware that was just recently. I thought that was, okay. Maybe we could do that at the board meeting. After the board meeting, we could take a little walk upstairs, if anyone would like a tour. And we could maybe do that. I'll ask the board if that's okay. Anyone else? I'm going to be here if you're afraid to ask your question, you want to ask it privately. Please, oh yes.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a question and a concern.
Okay.
I kind of brought it up to you at the last meeting, at the
Okay.
president's meeting. But just to clarify again, because I think, like, when we left at the last meeting, you had stated that the
Yes.
honors classes were coming back. Can you clarify, like, and give us more insight on how, what is happening now? Because now I'm a little confused. How are they gonna
Okay.
work it so that the academically, so
Okay,
that-
so you can't have honors. You can't call it honor.
Well,
So,
we used to have programs, academically talented. and
yeah, no,
programs.
there's still gifted and talented. Gifted and talented is also state mandate, so we do it, from what I'm aware of here, we have gifted and talented here.
We don't have different.
Okay, well then,
They took that away, yeah.
well, gifted and talented is most likely infused, it's probably not a pullout, so it's probably infused if you're, that was one of the first things I checked on, so I'm pretty sure there's a program here, so you might not be involved in the program, but, okay. So we'll check on that, but to go back to the question about the, there has to be different levels of learning in the middle school in order to feed into your AP and your advanced classes at the high school. Okay, so for example, we just missed a year of Algebra 1 in the middle school. So that means that every 8th grader has to take Algebra 1 next year, which means that we're already a year behind in math for those students that are going to move on to advanced maths in high school. So that's a problem for us. So what we intend to do next year is to include in the curriculum in let's start with 8th grade, an Algebra 1 class. So for those students who test or whatever parameters we use to pick those students, those 50, 60, 70, how many students there would be put in algebra classes. They then in turn would go to freshman year in either geometry or algebra 2 or however that lays out. So then what we have now is like math 7, we would probably do an integrated math or sort of like a math 8 type of scenario for the kids in 7th grade who are considered honors. The problem comes in 6th grade, because as I explained, everybody is coming from different schools, and everybody thinks that their child might be that top learner, but now when you put all the schools together, number 1 in school 50 might be number 50. You don't know yet, so and it takes a while for that to usually a semester so that all those students in 6th grade are on the same track. So you'll probably see second semester, maybe in 6th grade, is probably some type of accelerated or some type of, I don't want to call it a gifted and talented, but where students are kind of chosen to move into that next year or that next level math. But it's not as easy as everybody thinks it is in 6th grade, because there's all different, you know.
We had, our gifted and talented program was like an after-school program.
Right.
Do you think that would be coming back?
Well, unfortunately, if it's a pullout with a teacher, that probably won't be coming back at this point. That would be something that the board has to put some money aside for. For the simple fact is, in a district of this size, you need at least, I would say, at least 3 or 4 teachers. So that's a big investment. However, there should be a infused gifted and talented in every grade. So I'm almost positive that's happening, but if you're saying it's not, I'm gonna check again tomorrow. That was the first thing I checked on. So.
They canceled it.
Okay, well, that doesn't
My
make me
other
happy.
concern was, how are you, parents, I also expressed this concern, that parents in the community are very feeling like at arm's length, and like they wanted to know at our last school meeting why class parents and such became a security breach, quote unquote. So I was wondering how you are thinking about implementing more parent involvement, since they're not allowed, and understandably so, during school time, the class parties have been eliminated, no cupcakes, blah, 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 which I'm not complaining. But I mean, I feel, it is about their education first and foremost, but how are you going to kind of keep these parents still involved and feel like they're a part of the community?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's parental involvement. That's actually one of my big research areas is parental involvement. So there's some really incredible things out there that are happening, and hopefully we'll get to do in a few years. That's going to take a little bit of the teachers and I getting to know each other a little better. I already spoke to the board on doing an ad hoc committee, I don't know, do we call it community involvement, or if we call it community involvement committee, where we would set a time so that when we were doing a project or something that we were going to come out into the community with, anyone can join in this committee and be part of, especially the parents. I think one of the most important things that we need to do right away to get the parents involved is to get the K-5 parents on the portal. Okay, I mean, my wife is on that thing like 24 hours a day, checking grades and making sure my one daughter is on time. And so that keeps her connected to all the teachers, because it's like a quick note or an email. So I think that's one of the most important things.
We'll be seeing that in September.
That we really already have that here. We just really didn't have enough time to roll it out. So next year it'll definitely be rolled out to all of you. So you'll see that. So that's going to keep you in touch with us right away. I think nights like this are important. Going to your PTO meetings, you guys all getting together, I think that's what you're going to see from me. So, I mean, any advice that you have, one of the big things now that I will be hopefully rolling out with the board in a few years is for the teachers, the administrators, central office, to actually go into the homes of parents that don't come to these meetings, that can't make it, maybe they don't speak English, they're a little intimidated. It's for us to go and visit them, not with a pen and paper or anything like that, just to show that we do care about their children and we want them to know some of the important things going on. Parents that work too many jobs and can't get out here, or they're too tired, or whatever it is. So that's going to take a little bit more of a commitment, but that's the cutting edge stuff that I like to bring here. But any ideas you have to get the community more involved? I mean, I love taping everything we do so that you can see it or people can see it. I don't know how many people actually watch it. But again, anything we can think of. So, I mean, just spreading the word would be the main thing. Anybody else? Well, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it. If you have any questions, I'll be here. Please finish all the great snacks. Thank you so much. We have our plays this weekend. Our musical, please come. Okay, we have a Sunday matinee, that's the one I'm going to at 2 o'clock. If you like to sit next to me and my kids. And then, board meeting is the 13th as of right now. And I think Mr. Belleville, Mrs. Belleville is April 15th, right? Please mark your calendar for that, it's supposed to be a phenomenal show. Mr. and Mrs. Belleville.